And we're live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 233 of Fans of Power. I am Joe Majo Lakamoto, and I'm here with my partners in crime, Tyler Angry Guy Baker and Dreamy Nathan Kennedy. So that's coming from one of our fans, little Ivy Got a Bed. That's what she said. I guess found that out from her dad. She said that's what she's given us nicknames. I'm Modulok. Tyler is Angry Guy, and Nathan's Dreamy, I guess. So Nathan's Dreamy.
Yeah, you guys can't see it. They can at home. I'm sure Joe can on the delay, but I'm like trying to, I should have had like a buttoned up shirt with like fake chest hair just sticking out of it, some machismo or something. I don't know.
And maybe like some lip gloss, because that's how they do it, like the teeny bop guys. They always have like lip gloss on the lips or some shit like that.
Yeah,
that's what girls are into. The most feminine looking guys are the most dreamy guys. So
Nathan, what are you trying to say? You're trying to whatever. He's just jealous. That's all.
No. That's cool, but I feel like if Nathan's gonna add all this stuff, he needs to like go all like full on teeny bop. He's got to look all dreamy and just a little bit of blush and lip gloss.
I like the lip gloss thing though. You're right. They're always doing the lip gloss thing, trying to shine up the lips.
When I see that,
I got some chapstick. I got chapstick right here. Does that work?
But cake it on good to where like when you like look into this light, like it just shimmers off your lips there,
Yeah.
And give one of those stupid like selfie looks or duck lips. What is that?
God!
I'm glad that's a thing that went away.
And then put a filter over your face so you look like all like cherub and cute and all that shit.
You know one thing I do wish. I don't know how it stuck around the song, but the fact that anytime there are three girls and they're taking a picture together, they always have to do that Charlie's Angels pose. I'm like, why? Every time. It's like, all right, that was fine 20 years ago, even longer than that when the show was popular, or like when the reboot movie thing came out around the early 2000s. But
is that what they're pretty much like paying homage to? Is the Cameron Diaz movies, or they're going old school and like they legitimately like Charlie's Angels, or they think it's cool to wear shirts and say, "Oh, I like Charlie's Angels." So, what about? Did you like the second episode? Huh? The fake fandom that goes on so much within our popular culture, from comics and movies and TV shows, where it's cool to wear the shit and act the shit and pose it, but their fandom is about as deep as a kiddie pool. It's just
probably. I mean, I don't know. I was never into Charlie's Angels.
Do you guys find that at all insulting? Like, and I'm not talking about just with He-Man, but just with anything that you guys are really into, and they're wearing, like Nathan may see a guy who's wearing kind of a kind of inside joke wrestling shirt. And Nathan was like, so you like that guy? Like, who?
Yeah, you get excited for a second, and the instant you start with that conversation, you immediately pick up on it's like, oh, all right, they just got this as a shirt. They're not looking at it the same. I mean, yeah, but it happens across everything.
I feel like that. I mean, yeah, obviously there's a lot because the online community kind of like makes it aware, but it's like when you're in person, you see someone wearing, something that you're like, oh, that's cool. A lot of times, if you try to carry on a conversation, they're like a deer in headlights because they're like, Jaws. Like, I just thought this should look cool at Target. No, like, what do you mean? There's 4 Jaws movies?
The perfect example for me is at my other job prior to the one that I was working at most recently. There was this girl wearing, I was wearing my Raphael Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shirt. And she's like, oh, I like the Ninja Turtles. And she starts like talking about it a little bit. And I'm like, all right, right on, whatever. And then she's like, yeah, Splinter, the villain. I was like, what? No, get out of here. I immediately like called her out on it. I was like, no, that's not his name. Why are you even... Don't sit here and tell me that you love it and then just immediately get the base villain name incorrect. It just doesn't... Nope.
I have no patience for that. I feel like when the bulk of your interests and hobbies is in this fantasy mythology, from superheroes, movies, comic books, wrestling, 80s toy mythology, stuff like that. Like I just feel like I have no tolerance for people's lack of genuine fandom. Like, it's okay to be a casual fan, but if you're going to wear the stuff, like, I honestly feel like you better be prepared for someone to ask you about it, in terms of, like, if you're going to wear a Superman shirt, know who Brainiac is. If you're going to wear a Batman shirt, I better not just hear, oh, because Joker, because he's just so damn cool, because he's on damn near everything, because that's the only super villain.
Yeah.
They know it's attached to Batman other than Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
The only thing I think I ever experienced was one time going into Hot Topic, my place to go.
Yeah. And of course, you're going to find the biggest posters in there.
Yeah, and one of the girls that worked there, because I came in looking for some new Friday the 13th shirts, she was wearing a Nightmare on Elm Street shirt, but it was from the new Nightmare on Elm Street. But I like to always engage. And I was like, I was looking for some, Friday the 13th shirts. I said, I got Nightmare on Elm Street shirt. I said, what was your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street? And she was like, well, this one. I was like, yeah, but, the originals. She's like, I've never seen any of them. And it's like, just the image just goes, how have you never seen any of the original Nightmare on Elm Streets? That's your fandom? Is that version? I was like, dear God, you poor thing.
Things like that, and like the CDC should have put in these social distancing guidelines like years ago. It's like, oh, you like that movie? All right, stay at least 6 feet from me.
Right.
Yeah. I wish I could have those credentials that when people meet me, like, then there's like this roster of stats and things like if you claim to like this comic book or these movies, like, don't tell me that you're a big fan of, I don't know, Van Damme films and you've never seen Bloodsport. You just saw them in, I don't know, some bullshit, straight to video.
But hey, the funny thing about this is, hey, here we go, raise hands. I'm the third guy on this podcast, and I don't know hardly. So when we get to the character spotlight on Whiplash, I'm not going to be able to say as much or give you as much. So how ironic is that,
But it'll still be good to hear what you have to say.
You're not going to try and pretend.
No,
it's not like we caught you wearing a Whiplash shirt,
right?
And you're like, oh, dude, what's your favorite? And then we have to reboot you because you pretty much just shut down. Right. I think, no, it's you own it,
I think in terms of the pop culture spectrum, I think that wrestling is probably the biggest offender of all of this, because anyone can. And this has happened plenty of times. I start talking to somebody, they start using some of the insider, not so much anymore, terminology, and I'm like, all right, they kind of see what's going on, but then they'll say something that just like slips it and breaks it all down. I'm like, okay, they just watch Raw and SmackDown. They're not like, they don't really see what's coming next or whatever. It's still fresh to them, or they're like, this guy's okay, and I'm like, really? Like, tell me why. And then when they go to explain it, I was like, nah, that's not it.
We're done here.
Yeah, and I just walk away.
And our side rants usually happen later in the show. We started off with one, but that's good. Yeah. That's what's cool about it. But before we get into
think about that, when I see stuff like that, I just sometimes I hesitate to even, if someone's wearing a shirt of a movie or something like I like to, like, hey, cool shirt, but I'm like, do I dare ask them?
Most of the time it doesn't end good.
Because I was wearing my Cobra mask at work the other day, and a guy stopped me and said, I love your mask, dude. Where'd you get it? And I told him where. And he starts asking me, you hear about the new G.I. Joe line? Like, I wouldn't for his mind if I could have been like, there's a new G.I. Joe line? Like, I thought that died off back in them their 80s or some shit like that. It was cool to like that. I know I went right on, was just like, it's what you'd expect if someone asks you about that. You kind of hope that you can carry on a conversation. If someone were to wear a He-Man shirt, which chances are in this area, if they're wearing a He-Man shirt,
it's probably
something.
It's probably just me or you. That's bad.
Well, no, I've seen a few people,
it'll probably say something.
Like,
it would be something where Walmart had a He-Man shirt in stock. It's probably more than likely has a dumb saying on it. Yeah, I see where you're getting at with that.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times where if they're wearing He-Man, there was two guys came to the gym wearing these shitty He-Man shirts, and I so wanted to slap the shit out of both of them. And some guy at the Hillsville Flea Market was wearing the Skeletor, which if you looked up any, Joe, did you do that shirt?
Was it? You accusing me of shitty shirts? What was this?
Well, because I know how you like your...
Joe's already tuned out. He's like, Tyler's been talking about this too long. He's already like, what? Hello?
Yeah, I know. Joe's
you said a Skeletor? What did it look like?
Skeletor with the guitar. It's called Skeletor. as if like it's a concert promo kind of thing.
No, I didn't make that one. No, didn't do that.
All right.
I like how they associate me with craziness. Like you and your crazy crossovers, Joe. But no, not that. But before we get into these topics, I'll say hello to the people in the chat room, and then we'll start off with whichever you want to do, Tyler. But here we go. Jaime Myres, Spider Rat, Adam Gabbert, Zen Brown, Papa Hud 69, Grimbot, Spike's here, Aaron Voorhees, Darth Baca. I know I should hit the one thing, Nathan, and you can tell what I'm doing. Jason Havlick, Zamir Abaddon, shut up. Fedmon, I think I said Fedmon. And I think I got everybody. Yeah, I always forget to click that damn button, Nathan. Jesus. Sue me. I always forget to hit the button that says who's here live. But I think I got everybody. So thank y'all for joining us. And now we'll get into some topics. And Tyler, I don't know if you want to start off with the character spotlight or the commentary.
I don't know. Well, what do people in the chat room feel like? What do you guys want to hear? A commentary first? You always want to hear a discussion of Whiplash? The last one we did was around Christmas, maybe 5 years ago.
Well, let's see who's going to pop. Well, it's usually a 30-second delay, so we'll see if they want to do the spotlight first.
How did everything go last week? You guys have a good episode and good times, and
no, it's always fun.
It's always fun skimming through those magazines. Joe, of course, didn't have anything written in there, and he had a couple pages tore out. But it
tore out because it was the create a character contest thing. And yes, I missed you, Zentron. Sorry about that. But yeah, I went through the whole magazine. I was like, Nathan, when we get to one part of this magazine, I ain't gonna have any pages, and you'll find out why. And when he came to it, it was the character create a character contest. I was like, I remember.
And there was a guy that wrote to the magazine that said, I think I might be too old to be watching this right now, and he was 15 at the time. I'm like, yeah.
And writing into He-Man. He's writing to He-Man like he existed back in the magazine, so we gave that guy shit.
And then there was the other guy, the He-Man of the issue. He saved a baby deer, and I thought it was fake as shit, and it turns out it was a real thing that actually happened, and that was disappointing.
Yeah, JSP actually linked it. I was like, unreal, that really did happen. So, shit. So everybody, basically, we got a 50-50 with commentary and Whiplash.
I'm kind of seeing a little more Whiplash than I am commentary.
Whiplash? All right, let's start with Whiplash then. We'll have Tyler's.
Yeah, you guys can go ahead and talk about that. I'll give very little input. I will say it's kind of interesting with a lot of these characters because I decided to look, because I haven't seen a lot of Whiplash because I haven't just sat and watched every single episode, but he only appears in 12 episodes that I'm seeing here, and in the grand scheme of things, that's not a whole lot, and I imagine in most of these, Whiplash didn't take like a big focal point. It was just more of a background character. So what
Huey did, but you're right, background character in a lot, but
or like the essential right-hand henchman of the episode. Like, there's some that he's clearly playing Skeletor's henchman, but he's a prominent henchman. He's not just kind of filling out the panning shot of like Skeletor's just talking to his evil warriors, and Merman's the only one that says something, but then you got Beastman, Cobra Khan, and Whiplash just standing there, kind of filling in.
Like he even does something here in the Shadow of Skeletor. Like you said, he does more than just stand. So even in this episode,
yeah, it's which when I saw this episode, Shadows, it was on that tape that had the 5 episodes, which had the Betrayal of Stratos, which that was the first time I saw Whiplash in an episode, followed by Ice Age Cometh, and then Disappearing Dragons, Shadow of Skeletor, and The Arena. So at that time when I saw it was 3 episodes that I never saw anywhere else that had Whiplash. It was incredible to see him used so prominently. 3 out of 5 episodes, I thought he was, even though he's not the sole, like in Betrayal of Stratos, he's pretty much like the quintessential villain of that episode. But he was portrayed very confidently and as someone who wasn't afraid to tangle with He-Man one-on-one, even though he gets his ass kicked. But it was cool to see him not the bumbling buffoon just yet. At the beginning of season 2, he's given a lot of some good material to play around with. And the perception of him as a kid, was the Clash of Arms mini comic, where you just see him at the end. Because I'm having a bit of a moment here, but as I can recall, I think Whiplash had very, very few appearances in the mini comics as well.
I think he was like in 2 others, wasn't he?
He was in Mordax, and he was in the Mantana or Leech mini comic, I think.
Mantana.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't prominent. You're right. Clash of Arms, at least in my opinion, is the quintessential version and version of Whiplash that I think was the best, because that was the one where he was the most menacing, just ass kicking. It's like you would not want to face this out of all the other villains. Like, don't get me wrong. Yes, they're all intimidating, but they made him like the spotlight.
They made him the Goro. He was like the Goro of the lineup of villains.
And basically, like, you figure, I mean, he would have killed Fisto if it wasn't for him. And that's the impression you got as kids. Like, my God, he wouldn't have stopped. He wouldn't have won. I mean, he would have won. He would just kept going. And in the cartoons, I like seeing him because I liked the way his voice sounded. I mean, he seemed so sinister and sneaky and evil. I felt evil. I didn't get bumbling feelings from, seeing him in the cartoon. But I admit, when he, like in Trouble in Tralla.
Oh, God. That's the worst example you could bring up.
And that's what I'm bringing it up. That's why I'm bringing it up. I don't get the whole wizard aspects. Like, when did this whole thing about magic and it felt like it was out of place. Like, why would Whiplash be wanting to learn magic? It seems so out of character for him and was strange. To be learning that from Snoob. So that one, I don't know about, like I said, Tyler, that to me was his weirdest, I guess, version or character, characteristic that didn't make sense. I was like, I just understand
that's by far the worst episode. Like, he's been in worse episodes overall, but that's by far like the one that he was treated like the most poorly. Like, Here There's Skeletors Everywhere is a absolute shitty episode. It is shit, but he's not portrayed. He's just Skeletor's henchman in that episode. But yeah, it's almost as if like they had the script written with the Snoop character and going back to Tralla, and that there's a villain pulling the strings and kind of pushing Snoop to go against the council and everything. And it's like, well, insert this new toy that we got coming, or it's just, you just kind of felt like it was shoehorned in.
Did James ever mention if maybe it was supposed to be another character? Because it seemed out of place.
Honestly, like, that's, I mean, I haven't looked at the facts for all the episodes, because that's one episode I didn't give two shits about. That was linked with that Skeletor's Revenge VHS tape that I was so bummed out when I saw it because of the narration leading up to that episode. And you're like, oh my God, not only was Skeletor not in it, but it was a shitty portrayal of Whiplash. So, if it is, I wouldn't know, because I didn't bother to look it up.
Okay.
Because it sucks.
Well,
it's terrible.
Speaking of wanting to push the figure out there, in terms of playtime with Whiplash, when you guys had him, did you book him pretty strong during your playtime, or was he kind of sat off to the side?
No, he was one that
I still have the back end, the upper back end of his tail there's a tear in it, because I mean he was used a lot, because I just liked whipping the tail around. I used to pull it over his head sometimes just to be silly, just as I'm just kind of, I would have one figure in my hand and just kind of would tinker around and just be silly with it. But he was used prominently, because I mean, he was, honestly, outside of Joe shitting on Stratos, like, I look at the entire roster of the villains, and no matter what faction you like the most, Snake Men, Horde, or the Evil Warriors, there's not a weak link that I could see any kid, unless they had to come out and tell me, oh, I thought Stinker was stupid, or I thought Jitsu was stupid, or whatever. Then I'm like, how do you look at any of these guys and say that, they're the ones who are always going to get their ass kicked, by He-Man or Fisto or Clan Champ or whatever the case may be? That's just not how I saw them. Now, we know there was tons of kids who were probably destructive with their toys, which I didn't want to know kids like that. The guys that would take BB guns to their toys and let their dogs chew on them for fun and shit like that.
And then go to the flea market 25 years later and try to sell them well over
for $50 a piece. Yeah. With a bunch of beat up LGN WWF wrestling figures, it's like skid marks all over.
Well, you can't even tell who some of them are, because the paint's just completely chipped away. I can tell by the molding, and most of the time you would go there and it's like, well, all right, here's George the Animal Steel, here's Jesse Ventura, and here's Macho Man. Those are like, and Big John Studd. Those were like the common ones.
Paul Orndorff's another one I see. Yeah, he's kind of always beat to shit.
Yeah, and JYD as well. Those were like the common ones that I would always see beat all to hell.
I haven't looked at my Whiplash in a while. I mean, he's up on the shelf. I don't want to check, but I just remember the waist feature, just pulling and making his, tail snap and hitting the figures. But I don't know if I ever grabbed him by it to do it. But yeah, because like people in the chat room, Gary Buchanan and I Hate Ignorance, I mean, they're here as well. And I think some of them were saying that almost all Whiplashes seem like they have that rip, like you were saying, Tyler. Almost all of them have that.
I'm glad to know I wasn't alone. I guess it's just, a lot of that stuff. And I'm sure there's probably like a common denominator with a lot of the figures that they, based on how much play use they got or playtime they were given, there's going to be a common malfunction or
Did you ever take the armors off yours? Because I didn't do that swapping and ripping off. I've seen so many people that show that first, not only the armor, the one that kills me, Tyler, is King Randor. I, as a kid, never even knew the crown could pop off. You don't believe the amount of people the amount of people that had these, crownless Randors. Like, what the hell did you guys do with your toys? Like you said, I would never bash the hell out of them, but people BB gunning them, popping them with firecrackers. Like, good God.
I mean, it's just a bunch of damn savages and animals with their toys. I mean, I have no idea how I lost my He-Man armor, the harness as a kid. So probably from '88 and on, I just envisioned this was He-Man, the live action movie where his power harness is gone, he's captured by Skeletor. So and I lost his power sword in Axe and Shield, so his power sword was Fisto's sword.
Make any whip marks on his back or something then too?
I would try to do something because I had Blade, which I still have my childhood Blade up here.
Yeah.
Actually, it's over here. I have it. It's right here. This is the Blade I had as a kid. He's quite, as you can see, got a lot of play use. Cool. You see how scuffed up he is there.
That's called character there. That's called character.
Yes, it is. I adored this figure, but that was I would have to improvise. If I was missing stuff, I found ways to work around it, but. I just, when you see what happens to so many of the figures that you see at flea markets and dump bins and stuff, you just think, what bastard kid was, what were they thinking playing with these toys? Because when you think of children that would play with their action figures like this, like rocks, you're like, what are you doing, moron?
Yeah. I wouldn't do that either. Most of the time, it was just kind of like how you'd see in the commercials of trying to just set them up and use the action feature, but still trying to be as gentle as I could. Yeah, those kids that did that, I guess they just too many paint chips or something. I don't know. It's funny that all three of us took care of our toys pretty much the same way. I was more of play with them a little bit, but I always just enjoyed displaying them and having them on the shelf and just looking at them. I like just looking at them. I'm like, I don't have to play with these.
I think we knew we probably weren't going to get more than one. There were some rotten kids. I always tell you, I didn't watch G.I. Joe. I didn't collect the toys, but there was one kid in the neighborhood that had a whole bunch of G.I. Joes. And he was a spoiled little sucker. And he was one that would bash and smash him. I remember him crying to his mom one time that one of his figures are broke. I'll get you another one, honey. That kind of crap. Those kind of kids. They could just smash wherever the hell, go cry to mommy and daddy, get more. It's that's not how it is in most families.
No, and I part of because I spent so much of my childhood in my mind wishing I had certain He-Man characters, certain G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Turtle characters, Brave Star, Bionic. The list goes on and on and on. And I'm glad I didn't get all of them because it made me hungry for the angry asshole you guys see today. It's because I didn't get to have all of those, so it left me constantly wanting more. Why I gave up on any of this stuff, and I didn't know too many kids that had tons of stuff. I knew a couple, maybe less than a handful of those kids that some people might label them as they got everything.
Yep.
But
that was me. I was that kid. That wasn't by design. That's just how my parents were. They're like, Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming up. I see this entire line of Batman figures from the '89 movie. Better get the Batcave, all the vehicles, all the figures. Here you go. It's all under the tree. Complete.
And a Batmobile to sit in.
Oh yeah, the battery powered Batmobile. The Pee-wee's Playhouse figures. Got the Pee-wee's Playhouse, all the figures, all in one go. They were like, yeah, Merry Christmas.
And of course, you still have them all.
Yeah,
you still have them all. You still have all the boxes.
Yeah, if I had known Nathan when we were kids, he definitely would have been the guy that I definitely knew got everything. Because there were people that I knew that had stuff that I didn't have, but I wouldn't have labeled them as they got everything. There were certain kids I knew from daycare into elementary school that had a variety of toys that I always wanted, but it wasn't by the masses. It was just a He-Man character here, a G.I. Joe there, and I meet Nathan, and I find out that not only has he got all this stuff, but his parents kept all the boxes. which is absolutely unheard of.
Well, to be fair, it was mostly just the boxes for like vehicles and play sets. Now there were a few.
But still, that's what I'm saying, though. That's unheard of.
Wait, what do you mean? You still have all the card backs too. You went through that one little thing where you show, look at all the card backs for every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle you had, all the police academies or whatever.
But that wasn't like everybody. Those were just like occasional ones that, for some reason, that we kept those. But yeah, the boxes, especially for all the turtle vehicles, and it may not have kept the stuff from G.I. Joe. I don't know.
I know you kept some of the Batman '89.
Oh no,
stuff.
yeah,
Like,
I got all of that for sure.
Yeah,
got the Ghostbuster Firehouse box,
which is a work of art in itself. Yeah. Matt Hilton, my best friend from childhood, had that, and that was the first time I saw anybody still had. Because I didn't know anybody who had the Firehouse. If I'd have known Nathan then too, like he's got the box and the Firehouse, and then I would have pulled a Keanu Reeves right there in front of him. Just it would have been unbelievable. And then Joe, if I'd have known Joe had the Eternity playset. I had no idea that thing even existed until the early days of the internet. Because when I actually got to see a picture of it, so Joe probably would have been another guy. I'm like, and then
it's weird, when there's stuff that you encounter that you. That you don't have a clue that existed, and the other thing is like when we're talking about all the different things that kids had growing up. Behind my one friend that had the G.I. Joe, there was the other friend that had every Transformer. What's cool though about, at least it seemed like with me, I don't know how all kids are. I know sometimes kids like He-Man's better, G.I. Joe's better, whatever. We never got that vibe. It's like we all loved going to each other's house to experience the world of He-Man, the world of G.I. Joe, and the Transformers. I used to be in awe of the Transformers. Those I was like, God damn! I mean, just Omega Supreme. And all this other shit he had, and I remember I'm sitting there trying to transform one of the things. Like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I felt so stupid.
Those things are complicated.
I stay away from Transformers.
It's so
too much time to transform. Like I want to get down and fight and kick ass. I'm like, hang on a sec, and then 30 minutes later, okay, Megatron, I'm ready to beat your ass.
I guess we were just dumb kids. We didn't know how to do it.
I can't transform a Transformer to save my life. If someone had a gun to my head, pull the trigger, because I'm not going to be able to successfully transform Starscream. It ain't happening.
It'd be like that scene in Swordfish when Hugh Jackman's trying to
he's getting a blowjob from Helga, and John Travolta, oh, she's good, right?
Yeah.
Vinny Jones like,
and Tyler's sitting there trying to do a Transformers. I can tell you, I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah, if we were to do like a spoof on so many movies, that would be it.
Yeah, do the scene from Swordfish. Yeah. Tyler's getting.
Nathan's got the John Travolta hair there with the pencil stripe there. Yeah. Joe's got a gun to my head. It's like a Super Soaker instead. Cause Joe's like, he's Joe. And some hot chicks give me a blowjob because I can't transform Starscream. Come on, Tyler, transform Starscream to his airplane mode.
Actually, it would.
Too bad, you gotta die.
It wouldn't be a Super Soaker brand. Joe would just have like the knockoff from Dollar Tree.
The knockoff from the Dollar Tree, or just the little cheap plastic squirt guns.
That
doesn't
about,
even
the water barely goes out of it.
It's not the Super Soaker. It's the OK Splasher I got from the Dollar Tree or something. Just a little bit. Does one squirt and that's all you get. Oh, gotta go fill it back up, guys. Can't do it. That's terrible.
And then Nathan just kind of shakes his head, just like, "Will you do it already? I mean, like, will you join us or not, Tyler?"
Oh, Jesus. That's our Oh, wait, what's funny? Talking about weird shit. Here, these are my versions. I just talked about this the other day. These balls, my two balls here of Frankenstein.
Oh, look at Joe's balls here, people.
No, really. The Frankenstein and the soccer ball. These were my squirters at school when we'd have water gun day that everybody had.
How is that just sitting there beside of you?
I don't know. It's like magic. No, that's weird. What are the thoughts? You guys are talking about squirting and guns and shit, and then I have these right here. But yeah, I would fill these up, put them in my pockets. Everybody else is using the squirt guns at school, and of course the teachers are confiscating them. But I'd put these right back in my pants right after I'd squirt, and they never found them. So yeah.
And then there's still water dripping on it, and then it gets on your pants. It looks like you pissed yourself. If pissing your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis.
Miles Davis.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, Jesus. That's right.
How is that just sitting beside of you, though? Has that just always been there? Did it?
No, but what's weird is you say somehow, and you've said this in multiple episodes, you're like, Joe, every time I bring up a fucking thing, somehow you have it right next to you. How is this possible? Is it like just you surround your stuff with everybody thinking, okay, what might they talk about this week? Oh, there it is, there it is. It's just called the biggest coincidence. I have no idea how that happened.
Anyway,
but it worked.
Back to Whiplash. Now, I guess I'll move on and get your opinions on the 2000X version of Whiplash. We can talk about your thoughts, just initial thoughts on the figure and how you felt that Whiplash was portrayed in the cartoon.
Well, figure-wise, I mean, I do love the figure. It's one that, in a way, see, this, like I said, I think with the freedom that the Four Horsemen had with that line, it's very eye-appealing because it's not like always the same buck used over and over. I can only imagine what they would have did if they did a staction of Whiplash, but I enjoyed the figure. In the cartoon, I know he had at least one prominent episode where he did something where he was like very competent, and you find out about the Caligars. I guess it's okay. We got Caligars, Spillians, interesting, but I like his big massiveness, the intimidation of it. I wish there could have been more of him. As for speaking, not speaking, very few words spoken. I don't know. It's like I felt like we could have got just a little more. I mean, he seems so badass, but we didn't get as much as I guess I wanted. I'm not saying that it sucked like what we got of him, with, like you said, he's in, some good amount of episodes, but one just where he has maybe a main role. But I don't know. I guess I was just hoping for more. I love his look, but I don't know. That might be just me. I'm not trying to, piss on the MYP cartoon, but it was okay for a little bit of what we got. I don't know about you, Tyler, but I don't know. I was just wanting more, I guess.
I was really impressed with the two that when we saw, because I remember Whiplash was one of the he was one of the earlier announcements too. I remember seeing pictures of it, and in the magazines also. I thought he was so impressive. I thought the new face sculpt, the new look. It was like a completely revamped Whiplash, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was just an amazing look. The figure was great too. They definitely have him borderline brain dead in the show, just above Clawful.
That seems like that happened quite a bit with those guys.
Make the big guys oafs, yeah.
Yeah, which I honestly I've never understood why people who do animation have to make the villains idiots, as if kids can appreciate that a hero has to beat, these very intimidating villains. Just because they're big, why do they have to be dumb? If they're small, why isn't they can't be threatening? I think if a villain is going to be a villain, they need to be portrayed as a very competent villain. They don't have to be, Whiplash doesn't have to be as intelligent as Skeletor, but he ought to be seen as somebody that if he's there tearing up a village and He-Man sees him, he better roll his sleeves up because we're going to be brawling here. It's not going to be a one and done thing. He's going to come out with a couple of scrapes, maybe a fat lip or something like that. He will kick Whiplash's ass, but Whiplash is going to make him work for it. I just feel like there is no room in this mythology. I don't care about the tropes of animation and all the other logic and reason they may have. We got to have some comic relief in the show. The kids need to see dumbasses. I argue that tenfold because we don't like this.
Well, no, I was going to say there's a way to incorporate humor into a show and not beat you over the head with using their stupidity to get that point across. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. I mean, if a good writer can paint a scenario where a character that is very threatening, very imposing, and taken very seriously, you can put them in a situation and go to good writing and not trying to make fun of the character, but make fun of the situation they're in. If it's done sparingly and tastefully, and you're clearly not trying to, make a fool or take away the credibility of the villain, then yeah, there is room for good humorous moments in certain movies and comic books and animated series. I mean, there are some moments in He-Man that I do find good, not because they wrote witty, funny, humorous dialogue. It was just the situation was written okay, that's pretty neat. He-Man winking at the camera. Anybody want to buy a used bolo? It's quick and back, and we're right back to it, and the situation is dire again. It's not focused on But I just, Whiplash, I'm kind of with Joe on that one. I feel like there was a lot more to be done with that character. I don't know why NYP just felt the need to make him and Clawful just such idiots. Beastman wasn't portrayed that competently either.
Right. I never understand like the complete 180. How do you go from having them how they are in Filmation, where they're very intelligent, sinister, cunning, know what they're doing, not like you said, morons. Then when you go to MYP, you do this vast improvement of, oh my God, they look like badasses, which yeah, they do. They got it right. But then you turn them into just oafs. It's like, and especially Clawful really got that treatment horribly. He's so dumb he can't understand his own language of clicks. I didn't get it. I was like, why do you do that? If anything, okay, let's say instead of making them oafs, just make them mute. They don't talk or something, but don't do what you did to them.
I will always take a mute villain over someone who just embarrasses themselves and trips over their own damn words. I just, if I'm watching an action adventure show or whatever, like, I don't want to see the villains be, funny, unless you're talking about a character that is introduced to us as someone who's a bit of a smartass, or someone that they were created as a snarky character who makes remarks and things like that. That's one thing. But for people to come along and take these characters that are already established, and why people feel like they can just come along and just kind of reinvent these characters and dismiss Filmation and give us the same old bullshit treatment. Oh, well, they were always portrayed silly back in the 80s, because we all know they didn't actually take time to research. They just did a quick Google search and a YouTube clip. Oh, boy, stupid, gay as shit, from their perspective when I say that. You just kind of feel like, okay, I don't have to embrace this because you guys didn't take time to really provide any good care to these characters. Like when you're insulting these characters, you're insulting us, because this property didn't survive on its own. It survived because of us. If you're not going to treat it with the dignity that we give it, why should we be any more respectful to your attempts at rejuvenating this franchise? And that goes for anything. I don't care what it is. Grown men and women have kept these properties alive all these years, and we're always the ones that get made fun of or mocked or dismissed so quickly by the powers that be, because even though we're the consumers, we're the ones that kept it relevant and made people like, okay, well, people still like it. I guess we'll go back to the well and do it all over again. But if we have problems with how they're portraying it, we're just a bunch of losers. We have no say. People want the younger generation makes fun of us because we don't like change. How dare you make Whiplash into this, ice cube or meat with eyes? Like that's, you need to learn to accept change, people. You guys are so stuck in your ways, guy. It's.
But we've been doing it, like I said, even since we were kids. Remember, anytime there was something slightly different, we even did it then. It's called being a passionate fan. You're entitled to your own taste, but you're right. It's like nowadays you can't say it without them wanting to chew into you. It's like, you guys don't know. You just don't have the passion and love.
No, and I blame this because they just love to have a cause for anything, because that's what social media's turned into. It's to make people look like they're a prophet, or they're a savior of this cause. Then they move on to the next one that they don't really give two shits about. It's I think Star Wars fans have every right to be passionate and bitter and upset about how their property is portrayed. Same thing with Transformers, G.I. Joe, Turtles, He-Man fans. Even if you got a finger or a foot in every one of these circles of fandom, you got every right to be pissed off or unhappy, or the right to not feel like you have to settle for this.
Well,
sure. I mean, we've been doing it, like I said, all the time.
I think Joe and I touched on it a little bit last week as well, that there's so many different sides to this whole thing, because you also have the people, too, that love it so much, and even if it sucks, they're like, it tastes like shit, give me another spoonful, and that's when you kind of have to just, I don't know, the fandom's really weird that way. It gets frustrating a lot of times.
Yeah, you have to speak up at time.
The mentality, and I still feel like we've touched on this God knows how many times, that if people feel like they don't like it, then because that's what a lot of companies will do. They will trash or can the property that they botched and blame it on the consumers, because they're not going to be left with egg on their face. They're not going to admit that their portrayal is what pretty much shot it down. You know, if people aren't buying it, then they're not interested in it. And you often feel like, do companies ever recognize that obviously if you got a franchise that sells very well, this incarnation did well, this next one did not. How do you determine they're tired of this property, or that, you know what, you guys just shot yourself in both feet on this one and you're just gonna have to eat it, you know? But the corporations, they're not. I don't see them going out of their way to probably admit that I think we went a little too far with this incarnation of Captain America, or whatever the case may be. You know,
well, I guess we'll see how that turns out for this property, since you got that movie eventually at some point. I'm
sorry. Look at this.
We were talking about that.
The only thing that I feel like is coming is one animated series. I feel like that second one is probably lost in limbo at this point. I just feel like Kevin Smith's awesome So Metal show version of He-Man of the Master Universe is coming. That's the only thing I know. It's coming, and we'll deal with that. I do
kind of wonder if when that does show up, if people aren't as receptive to it, because Kevin Smith's had a long line of coming out with something, and then what was it? What was that movie he directed that had Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis in it?
Oh yeah,
yeah. When that came out and the critics trashed him, and then he got really defensive about it, even though the general consensus was, well, all right, it wasn't that great.
I never heard of that movie. What'd you say it was called?
Cop Out. Yeah.
Cop Out. God, when did that come out? That's
what, early 2010s?
Mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s. I think he blames Bruce Willis for being very problematic, which,
I mean, yeah,
that he might be. But I also feel like, I've come to terms, even before Kevin Smith ever attached to this, and that's why I feel comfortable enough to say this. Kevin hasn't done anything that I find very valid and very well done since Dogma. When Clerks 2 came out, I absolutely loved it, and then when it came out on home video, I realized this movie is nowhere near as good as I thought it was. I know Nathan, me and him have talked about it. He still likes it. I don't. And it just feels like he's kind of lost his way and has not had it for a while. I feel like a lot of times he's kind of played up as the poser comic book fan in Hollywood. Like he's the comic book guy because he directs movies and he loves comic books, and DC's letting him write stuff and Marvel's letting him write stuff. Oh, he knows his stuff. And you know what? He probably knows a lot. But when I hear him talk about stuff, he comes off as very do you have to make fun of everything, or you just, or he's not as knowledgeable as you think he might be. It just it's because he's in a position of power, so to speak, he's given all these opportunities, which is how it works in Hollywood. I'm not blind to that, but that's what just makes me worry. He came out with that latest piece of shit Jay and Silent Bob movie that looked absolutely atrocious, and no one saw it, no one cared.
I watched it,
and
I watched it. I think if you've had a few drinks, you sit down. It's not the worst thing he's ever done. So
I don't drink, so I can't do that.
I don't drink either, so I'm sorry. But
well, I think it does. I
see these really bad cum jokes. I'm like, look, Clerks is a masterpiece. It genuinely is, and I love Mallrats, and I love Dogma, and I love Chasing Amy. And the writing is so much more better, even though there's some good raunchy stuff, but it's not just it comes off as he's writing it for 12-year-old kids, I don't know. It just looked atrocious when I saw.
I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully the series will be good. I guess we'll find out soon enough. When you hear him talk, it sounds like he has a lot more say on that show. That's the part that has me worried. And then you hear about Seth Rogen's going to do another.
Oh
Turtles.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Oh my God! Just people that you just don't. Just because you liked it and oh great, you got a production company, great, so you're gonna do it and you come in there and want to voice half the cast and hire your buddies to do it too, and do your Seth Rogen, I'm so high.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well,
let's go into something good. You want to get into
but Whiplash, God. Well, I guess it's I hope people respond to this better than the last time we talked about Whiplash.
Yeah. But if I was to say any version, I did love them in Clash of Arms probably more than anything. I could only envision what that could have looked like in an actual episode of the cartoon, how great it would be. But yeah, Filmation, he was portrayed well too, even though at times, like I said, some confusing portrayals. And then unfortunately, MYP, he got the short end of the stick. He has a great design and look, but just they messed it up with making him an oaf.
Now, I will say Betrayal of Stratos is by far his best portrayal. Even over Clash of Arms, because he is the sole villain. He's cunning. I like the fact that he works with the demon on it, kind of doing his own thing, working with Skeletor, kind of like a freelancer almost, and going up against He-Man one-on-one. I think that's, if you're going to get someone over as a competent He-Man villain, that was the way to do it. Like, he's working for Skeletor, but not working with Skeletor. Like, he's doing his own thing.
At least this one not with Snoob and doing the damn magic, though.
Yeah, he's not doing this gestures. And for people who are unaware of this, that Whiplash was, and I only say this, if you never watched any of the James E. Talk videos, which Grandbot probably helped with this. I assume Grandbot probably helped with a lot of those videos. I have no idea. I'm going to give you credit. I have no idea if you worked on it or not, bud. But if you go and watch on the official He-Man YouTube channel, there's a video of Lizard Man, which is not the Lizard Man you're thinking of, but the original design that was set up for Filmation had the same color scheme as Whiplash and Clash of Arms. So you go, and then they decided to axe the character and turn Lizard Man into a heroic character, but could then kind of take the design of the original Lizard Man with the Whiplash color scheme, change it up a bit, and we get what he is in Clash of Arms. And so pretty much the original Lizard Man spawned the heroic Lizard Man and Whiplash. So if you want to know more about that fun fact, check out that. I watched that video several times. It's a very interesting video that James did on the YouTube channel. So if you want some more Whiplash fun facts, that's a fun one to check out. And if you're not as familiar with the character as much, watch or read Clash of Arms, watch Betrayal of Stratos, the Ice Age Cometh, and the commentary we're about to do here tonight, which features Whiplash pretty prominently at one point, and we'll dig into that once we get there.
Definitely. So you'll have to.
Quit trying to rush me
give
along.
us the cue. I'm not trying to rush you along. Just hurry right now. You got to.
That's great. Just move on. Shut the fuck up. Come on.
That's what we're doing. Like, okay, hurry up and get to the show. And we're going to do it right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pick play.
Well, the link.
Joe would make a great auctioneer. I can see Joe doing that, and he's got to stop and hold on to his mask. He's getting a headache.
No one understands him.
Say I'd be like the new Micro Machine guy or something because I talk so goddamn fast. So what would happen to him?
Super fancy Micro Machines. Anyway. The link is down below if you guys want to go ahead and click that so you can watch along with us. And while you do, enjoy the still photo inside of a television set and enjoy Tyler's collection in the background. So, Tyler, if you want, go ahead, give us a countdown. We'll get going.
3, 2, 1, action.
I just want to say King Barbo looks like Wilt Chamberlain to me.
Yeah. I could see that, yeah. Which I thought he was I liked that character, and they reused him in the Time Wheel, and he looks terrible in it. They swap his colors out.
King Tamusk or something.
Yeah, it was like just shit. I just it's one of those episodes. I'm like, no, I don't know it well because it sucks.
Right.
So there are a lot of episodes that I have seen. But I just can't say anything about it because they're not good, and I'm not going to memorize it. James, God bless his soul, has memorized a lot of the bad episodes. I'm just like I focus on the good, and I want to push more good. To fight out the meows of the world, and all the people want to say He-Man is gay.
That might be coming back in full force. But speaking of James, he gave this episode an 8 out of 10. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it.
It should be 10 out of 10.
Throw his rating out there. I guess I could have just read what he put in his book while we were watching the intro here.
Well, too late now.
Too late now.
Well, yeah, but I had Nathan watch this episode like a good ways back, like a few months ago, and I definitely got to get Nathan's thoughts on this episode, like initially, like your immediate perspective on this episode as we're digging into this panning shot of the royal palace.
Well, the first thing that I had here in my notes is I kind of want to talk about Ram Man a little bit, because we talked earlier about having those characters just be like sort of oafs. Did Ram Man and his portrayal in Filmation ever like just kind of bother you a little bit, or is that just something that you've always just been like, yeah, that's fine, whatever?
Yeah, I to me that was. And he's not always portrayed like that. That's pretty much Filmation doing that. And I actually found it made him more lovable, like a very likable, lovable character, like a very loyal character, a bit of a simpleton, but his heart's always in the right place. Like someone. I
think what bugged me, Tyler, to be honest, not to cut you off, I did not like Manny-Face's voice in this episode.
As a kid, I actually hated it because
God, every fucking voice
doing the voice. That's
and it's for every face. And every face is doing it. I was like, why does every face sound the same? And plus, even just as the standalone human voice, like, this is horrible. This is nothing like the mystery of Manny-Faces.
It's like, Lou, come on, man. Like,
why did they do that? That drove me. I just had to say, that drove me insane.
As a kid, when I saw this, because this is Manny-Face's only other appearance outside of the Mystery Manny-Faces. The guy only got 2 appearances in the entire run of the show. And when this came along, I was like, Manny-Faces, and then within seconds, it was
like, what?
See,
and it just,
like, people in the chat, you guys are saying Ram Man's lovable, but it's kind of offsetting to me just to
that's why I feel like we need Nathan to rewatch House of Chakotay 1 and 2 with us, because that's what I feel like.
Then he might like them and appreciate
it. Because if that is probably the definitive portrayal of, like, he's a simpleton, but he's, like, genuinely funny. In that, at least I found it, because when I revisit as an adult, when I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, and this is the Doom Buster, if you guys are wondering what this is.
And I was going to say, this Doom Buster, I think we've seen it a couple times. I think it was in the Rainbow Warrior too, but I'll admit, as a kid, unlike the Collector, which I wanted a vehicle of, this vehicle just didn't do it for me. I'm not putting it down saying it's complete shit, but I was like, I didn't get a good feel out of the Doom Buster. But, like inside when you see it's massive, but I don't know, I felt it was a little plain. I don't know. Something about it I didn't like.
It definitely doesn't kind of fit the aesthetic that you kind of get the vibe of from a lot of the vehicles in the show. Like, I thought it was fine. I was intrigued by it because it was a new vehicle. But it bothered me. It was not really name checked, and I think it was James in much later years, where it is in fact the Doom Buster, which is referenced in season 1's Disappearing Act when they said we found Skeletor's Doom Buster in the woods, which is what I thought the Basher was, because that's the only vehicle that's featured in it. So for the longest time, I thought the Basher was the Doom Buster.
And I do gotta say, I gotta admit, people say He-Man can't fly, but again, show another one of his abilities so damn fast he could turn into a tornado. He flew, which some people could say is a little silly. Yes, I understand, but I guess he could fly in some capacity to move his body so goddamn fast he can go into a tornado. So that was something different. But you see how massive the inside of this, like I said, this Doom Buster is. Just seeing where they're walking, it's like, God, it's like they're walking in a palace or something. You can tell it must be massive.
Which would make sense that a lot of Skeletor's, assault equipment would need to be quite big. And I always found this to be... I like this sequence as a kid where they're just sitting there quietly listening to Skeletor and having Manny-Faces come in to play Beastman. I just thought it was a great bit of storytelling here.
Manny-Faces, the Dave Coulier of Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, I guess what got me annoyed is, like, we already knew and we seen him, like you said, in the Mystery Manny-Faces, where he turned his face into Beastman and he did his voice. So when they were saying, can you do it? I was like, well, I know, like I said, they didn't like doing the continuity thing. It was like, yeah, we know he's done that before. But like I said, I do understand for this episode how it works. I
almost feel like, because I think it's safe to say a lot of this show, there is no continuity. And I think it's probably something they preferred that way. They're not restrained so much, which is why He-Man would struggle with a small beast, but he could lift up Castle Grayskull. Like, the continuity, they're not thinking about children having those kinds of thoughts about,
Yeah, because did you get the vibe? Because, like, how the vibe is, it's almost like when you're watching it, you feel like we're just now learning about him, which obviously we're not. But even like when Ram Man's seen him as the monster, it's like, well, if you guys are such good friends, you should have known. You've seen him in a monster form before. It's like, I don't know. That was one part that I nitpicked that annoyed me. But still, the episode itself is a great episode. I just guess, like you said, they're not doing the constant continuity, so it makes it feel like it's kind of new each time. I guess you were seeing some of the stuff.
Yeah, and it really just kind of plays up that. Yeah, I mean, Ram Man. I mean, I get from Nathan's perspective, he's watching this and thinking, God, Ram Man's just an absolute moron.
Yeah.
Like he's just a complete idiot.
Yeah,
and that's why I have to come up and be the public defender for Ram Man. Like, no, it's just continuity error here in the storytelling.
Yeah,
I mean,
and like now
if anything, I could just look at it like he's rammed into too many things and hit his head too many times. And maybe that's how they were thinking about it too, with like 2000X, and making him I don't know.
Oh, that's a shitty version of Ram Man. I mean, just oh God.
We'll have to definitely do a spotlight again on Ram Man or something.
Well, I'm more than happy to, but I'm going to be praising the hell out of Filmation and just taking, a big runny stool all over NYP's portrayal of Ram Man.
I just gonna complain. I mean, I do like the aspect that him and Many Faces aren't getting along.
Well, I've often liked, and I like this cannon here that's obviously built by Skeletor, because everything's got like a bit of a skull motif. Great evil leaders have always got the big ego, and they need to see their face kind of plastered on everything.
And this moment coming up, because I know, just like you, I remember as a kid, I was like, oh shit, he is going to transform in front. I mean, I was convinced. I was like, this is going to happen. But then you always knew the character break when the voice was different. I was like, oh, it's Adam's voice. And then I knew it went out. But I was like, shit, look at me.
It was a cool tease, because you get that music coming in. You're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It really pushed that forward, that it was about to happen.
I wanted it to happen,
something that was done much. And Adam's excuse saying, I want you to see my new jacket. I'm thinking, like, they have jackets? Like, the kind of jacket that I wear? Like, I just didn't see, like, I don't think Prince Adam have the kind of jacket with the hood that I've got. Like, I just found it to be like dialogue that just didn't fit even as a kid. Jacket, but obviously I took it literally. And it's kind of establishing that Eternity's got two moons. I always thought was kind of an interesting bit of world expansion, that we've got two different colonies on these two different planets. And even though the exposition is like the people on the dark moon are kind of unhappy, miserable people, the bright moon are the exact opposites. It's kind of like the dark moon is like a third world country almost. And then people on the bright moon are kind of like, a metropolis, so to speak. And seeing these like small spacecrafts are taken, kind of traveling from moon to moon here. And
I like that they showed, I know as silly as it sounds, even showing seatbelts, safety belts. I don't know if that was part of the whole, safe. Yeah, it was surprising, because usually you don't see
there. But I just like seeing all of this here. I mean, it's just taking the
a lot
small
of new
spacecraft
art.
and
yeah.
Well, and
I like seeing it all.
Well, that's the refreshing thing, is that they're going somewhere else. Like, we're getting out of that element of what you're used to, and we're
and this is why I have a problem with people shitting on New Adventures. Like, this entire episode takes place in outer space in a very competent way too. And so people are saying, I don't want to see He-Man go to outer space. So are you telling me that this episode of He-Man, doing battle on the bright and dark moon, like, is a bad idea? Like, I
always love seeing new locales and different things and people, and it just caught your eye. Like, even this guy, I always thought he got a King Randor vibe. I was like, hey, it's King Randor in a different outfit. As a kid, I used to think that, but I always love seeing different worlds, different characters.
There he is.
And of course, like
Will Chamberlain,
a lot of palettes
right there, King Barbell.
Yeah,
John Irwin's very gruff voice used for King Barbell. So I just thought he was
and you know what? A no-brainer is a figure that would look awesome. And hell, they could even, like you said, even though King Tamas, not everybody's favorite, still, it could make two figures just from that.
No, don't go down that road. We just want one good one.
No, if they ever thought of making the character, that's what I mean. If they thought it wasn't worth just making
fun, if you meet somebody who's got $500 and wants you to butcher, a King Barbos, one in a million figure, then by all means. But I ain't having that.
Well, they could get 2. I'm just saying Mattel could get 2 for the price of 1 because all it is basically a palette
Mattel
swap.
ain't listening to anything that we say anyway. At least at least while I'm on this podcast, we're pretty much all doomed from Mattel ever listening to anything competent we have to say. Joe's Mr. Nice Guy, Nathan's neutral, and I'm the asshole.
Yep.
So
hey, at least you know it and recognize it. That's the important thing.
I own it.
No, Nathan's dreamy.
Yeah, I'm dreamy. Get it right. Get it right, angry man.
Yeah. Well, maybe if we send Nathan in with Joe's kind words, Mattel might be willing to listen to the things, and I could just kind of filter in the things that need to be done through Nathan, And then when they don't listen, I come in and kick the damn door.
Yeah, so I got an earpiece, and Tyler's telling me what to say, and then he steps on something accidentally. He's like, shit, and I just repeat it, and they're like, what's that? Get out of here. And just ruin it for everybody. I will have to take some more of Tyler's recommendations and watch the episode that he feels like Ram Man really shines in, so I can get a different perspective.
Also, Shikoti, 1 and 2, you definitely got.
Yeah, that's even Larry Gentile has publicly stated he was very proud of how he wrote Ram Man in that episode. Like he's just I like him a lot in that, and I was trying to think of a couple of episodes. I mean, because for the most part, he doesn't serve too many big purpose. House Shikoti, he gets a lot of screen time. Quest for the Sword, which Joe has shit on before. Ram Man is portrayed pretty good in that one too. I wouldn't put it up as his most memorable performance by any means, but we see Manny Faces getting ready to infiltrate the gang here, go undercover. Which is always a tense moment as a kid watching this. Like, holy shit, man, what's going to happen? Because you just didn't know who else was here. So it was all a surprise to see the roll call.
Yeah, because it is cool when you get to see multiple of the characters and when you're getting, everybody that like you said, that they're going to show here in a second.
Yeah, just go down
especially
the
when they're
line
not getting. Yeah, especially when they don't get a lot of screen time and you will see more. It's like, I understand wanting to see new characters here and there, but you want to see that the tried and true originals, you want to see them doing some more. And of course, Trapjaw with the arm and the wrong arm and happening in a couple of those spots, but then they put it back in the right one. But it happens. It's not like as a kid it drove me nuts. But yeah, we finally get to see Whiplash later do some shit. So he wasn't here as they said sometimes just to be in the background in passing. At least he's doing something this time.
And just having 5 evil warriors are present in this episode along with Skeletor. Because for the most part, it's like 1 or 2. But to have 5 happens some, but not that much. I like that. Skeletor's power even transcends outer space and just can knock you on your ass anywhere. And this whole plot of Skeletor, he's doing this strictly to cause war between 2 moons. Like he is the Lord of Destruction in this episode. So that's why I love this episode so much, because I want war. Like, you can't get much more quintessential Skeletor than this episode right now. So all of you fans out there who think he's cute and funny can eat my ass, because he is the
and no explanations. You're right. No explanations, though. We don't have to hear why he wants to do it. Like I said, evil to be evil.
Tuned into Fans of Power, and the angry guy said he wanted me to eat his ass. Jeez.
Yeah, right.
And I like this, too. I even like Beastman in the cell.
Sorry, Joe.
Because you get to see Beastman is... No, that's fine. But like you said, you get to see Beastman's not incompetent, as they like to show.
No, he's very intelligent in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, he's thinking about things.
Right, he's like, these are electrified. Adam said they're electrified. Let me call... and he's can control beasts. And he's on one of his creatures. Bam, take that shit out so he can get out. Beastman's
could you
very
imagine
competent.
being that guard, and then all of a sudden you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah, I'd be just like that, dropping shit, probably having a heart attack or something. You see something like that coming at you. But Beastman, like I said, this is the kind of shit I would want to see more of Beastman. He's conniving. He knows what he's doing. He's intelligent. He's not a fucking moron. So that's more of the Beastman I'd love to see.
Yeah, it's one of the few moments, probably the only moment in season 2 where you can genuinely say Beastman is intelligent, and it was just kind of a fluke, because most of this season he's not portrayed anything less than just the cliche idiot that was in so many 80s cartoons that we can't have the henchmen, that you want to sell action figures, so they need to be portrayed as morons. Because honestly, like if I saw them anything, if the designs were not as strong as they were, and all you saw was kind of a weak figure, and then the cartoon you see this moron, like, I don't know if I would have wanted that figure, probably. Like part of the mystery is that a lot of times you didn't see them in the show.
Yeah.
So therefore, they looked awesome and wanted to see them in the show.
Would there also be cause of confusion too between seeing them in the show and seeing them portrayed differently in a mini comic? Would you?
Yeah, the mini comic, especially if you're a kid that's reading them, where they're more intense. It's like, all right, these characters, man, they're badass. And then you would watch the cartoon, like you said. Unfortunately, a lot of the episodes, it's silly. It's like, would you start portraying them as morons and dipshits because that's what you're seeing in the cartoon? So yeah, it can happen. It's either maybe you're getting the feel of the mini comics or you're getting the feel of the cartoon.
Most of the episodes I saw as a kid though were from season 1 though, because that was pretty much what was available on VHS. So
better portrayals, yeah.
Better portrayals. So Beastman was always threatening to me. So was Merman and Trapjaw, Triclops, Evil Lyn, everybody.
Yeah. Unless you came in late to the game and you started watching season 2, you pretty much, these characters were a little more serious.
Yeah, and
I always loved watching when Evil Lyn would do any of those little things.
I did too. To me, that added an extra level of malice, and I absolutely love this shot coming up right here when Skeletor hits this shadow over Beastman and Skeletor.
Look at the details. Awesome. Yeah, the lighting, beautiful. The shadows. You knew that was new art. That looked great.
That to me as a kid, that was kind of like an awe moment because not only is Man-Face is caught, but how creepy Skeletor and Beastman look.
Yeah, you're not used to seeing them like that. Yeah, with that much detail, it really was catching to the eye. So agreed. You knew when it was something different, and that was definitely.
God, I kind of wonder why they didn't go for that more often. Do you think it works better that they only use that sort of detail sparingly?
I think a lot of times they would try and tweak things up if the writer really wanted to see something different. I think when Michael Reeves wrote Dragon Invasion, he deliberately wrote a sequence where the transformation sequence is broken up, where Adam gets a roof debris falling down on him to break up the transformation. But I'll touch on that here in a moment.
That piece of art with He-Man, that something looked weird about it all the time. Looked like it wasn't. I don't know. Something didn't look really fluid. And by the way, you got to see Merman get turned to stone, so it wasn't just in MYP. You see it happen here. Of course, what the fuck happened? He got left on the planet all by himself. So he got turned to stone before, I guess.
I like seeing Whiplash growling at He-Man like I'm ready to kick your ass. And this right here, this avalanche was used in the season 2 promo. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it. But the sequence of Whiplash and Evil Lyn on the rock, and then the music kicks in in the TV promo when He-Man lifts the boulder up. It's a very fun promo. It gives me goosebumps when I watch that promo.
And I guess it could show and it could show the strength of Ram Man of knock them back to it. Jesus Christ, you're knocking from one planet through outer space all the way to eternity. They're probably dead, but no, it's damn, Ram Man's a strong little sucker. So, and this episode, like you said, is basically all about friendship. Not only this, but with the two people from the bright and the dark. So it's just trying to bring people together. It was a good moral, in at least this episode.
Yeah, and it's done it's sprinkled. The best morals are the ones that are sprinkled and not where you can clearly tell that they're. But I didn't feel like a lot of the He-Man morals were really beating you over the head. I think it's where people just don't give it enough credit because they're too lazy to watch it. It's more fun to make fun of something without watching it.
Sure.
Yeah, gotta hurry up and be part of the cool kids. It's always cool. Have your own YouTube channel and make fun of the '80s cartoons with your funny faces, Captain Dipshit.
Yeah, the world definitely needs more of that. I'll tell you, we need some good morals.
Yeah, because God knows there isn't enough in that market on YouTube.
Yeah,
I had this in my notes, but I'm like, wasn't it kind of dangerous for He-Man to turn that on when he was so close to it?
Right, looked like he blew himself up. I see what you mean. And there's all the kings together. How about that? Everybody's all around. It's a nice peace treaty, so that's pretty good. You need good stuff like that once in a while, and then they, bam, friends back together.
Wilt Chamberlain's got a game that he's got to go to. He's got to go score 100 points.
What's that?
Go bang a bunch of chicks.
No, this is a good choice, though, Tyler. It was a fun episode.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I mean, I was almost convinced I thought we had done it, but I think we've discussed it a couple of times on the podcast because it's just, it's definitely, it's not an exaggeration. This is definitely not an episode that is brought up a lot of times with the fans because, I mean, I think the fans that know the series pretty prominently, I mean, they're few and far between, which is why, it's important to publicize, that there are a lot more episodes out there that are genuinely good, and it's not just less than a handful or what's over on the top 10 He-Man episodes. That it's part of the mission statement of this podcast is to remind people there's so much more out there than meh.
Definitely.
It sounds like the gangster from Bugs Bunny cartoons. Meh, meh, meh.
I had it in my notes.
You know?
I was like, "Is this moral about Steven Seagal and the Patriot?" ?
Oh Jesus! Well, let's be friends now, man. Well, before we get to the question,
the podcast is over.
That's it. No, but before we get
on the
to
air conditioning.
before we get to the questions, you guys can send in questions. Grimbot did have something that he wanted to say about the shadows. He said, shadows are time consuming. He said, even in overseas stuff, you'll notice that often they get omitted.
Yeah,
so
I know that the reasoning behind it has to do with the time it takes, how much it costs, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that most of the time, especially back then when they were doing cartoons, they wanted to try to do them as cheaply as they could, especially with just reusing things over and over again. That a lot of cartoons.
Nice when you get little bits of it, though. Like you said, if it would be overused, it's like you couldn't appreciate seeing it.
I think so doing that in that episode is kind of like what made that moment stand out, because I also had that in my notes of once they figure out what's going on. I do like that shot of Skeletor and Beastman.
Sure. Yeah. Agreed. So you guys can hit us with any questions right now of anything you want in the chat room. Wiley Walt just joined in to say, hey, group, how you doing? All right, let's see. Question from Febmon. Have you seen Scareglow's Origins card back, especially the interesting guest character in it? Fedmon, you're going to have to let me know, because I'm not sure if I've seen...
So you're talking about the Origins character with Clamp Champ on the back? It's He-Man and Clamp Champ versus Scareglow.
I had it on my phone, but I don't have my phone on me. But yeah, I think that's what it is. It's Scareglow, and it's Prince Adam and Clamp Champ.
It's cool to see it, but I'm really not impressed too by the card art. It just
who's drawing them? Who was the person that's drawing those?
I don't know. I just feel like...
Because didn't Aaron McCarthy... He was doing Super 7's vintage figures. Wasn't Aaron McCarthy doing those? That's why I'm surprised he wouldn't be doing these. I thought.
No, probably because he's not cheap,
Oh.
I feel like everybody from Marvel and DC, they hire people who aren't that talented, but they work cheap, and just so they can say they're working on this. Oh, we'll hire you. We're not going to pay anything. But okay, great.
Yeah.
I just find the card art to be kind of uninspired. It's not. It doesn't leave an impression on you. Obviously we're not 3, 4, and 5 years old where we're impressionable, but we're not old enough to recognize good He-Man art. And the mini comics have obviously left a lot to be desired, to put it politely. And seeing multiple shots of the card art, it's just not very interesting. I don't
take
care
another
that
look. I'll be honest.
It's not very cool looking.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it. I honestly don't remember seeing that art. I think the only one, because I have the He-Man and Skeletor Origins figures, I know their art, and it just was kind of bland. Especially Skeletor looked like he's just looking at the screen with his...
I will say that the He-Man and the Skeletor one are by far the laziest.
Skeletor's why is he posing?
Upward shot,
I don't get it. It's
like original one of him snooping around Castle Grayskull
was sneaky. It was sinister.
Oh my God.
It was you got an eerie
that more as an adult than I did as a kid when I had that figure.
Because you got an eerie feel of it. He looks spooky, but this new one, it's like he's posing and looking at you. I was like, I don't understand this art. It just annoyed the hell out of me. So
they don't get it. They don't get it too. So I don't. I just. It's just. It's
the mayor said that Axel does the art for the new card backs. I didn't know Axel was doing those.
I didn't think Axel did, because it doesn't look like his artwork at all.
Yeah, it looked different. Zamir, I'll look into it. I'm not saying you're wrong, Zamir. I just didn't know. If it is him, it's quite different than what Axel normally does. I guess
Axel did the art for the San Diego exclusive from last year, the Origins 2-pack.
The 2-pack? Yeah, which was beautiful.
He did that, but I don't think that's him. I think he shares a lot because he's worked on it, so he shares a lot. But I don't think that's him. Anything. Yeah, I could be wrong.
Said
but
he is the artist. Well, God, if he is, they must have told him to put that pose. So I'm just saying. Axel, if they made you put it in the pose, you got to do what you got to do. But I just did not like that look of him looking at us. So. Yeah, because Axel is I love all his work, but not that.
Well, I ain't backtracking here, because whoever's coloring his work is not doing his work justice. It just doesn't. I've seen Axel's colors before. It doesn't, or Val has. I don't know. It just looks.
It looks different. It really looks different.
Maybe Val's the one that colored it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna.
No, we're pissing on everybody.
And now apologize because our friend Val and Axel. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it because it just doesn't look good.
No, we're gonna get
I've seen Val colored good. I've seen Axel. I got walls of Axel's over. I know he is one of the best. I've seen Val's colors. I got some over here on my wall. They look amazing. So I don't know. The end product, I'm not very impressed with. I'm not, and I will stick to my guns on it because I've seen better.
Well, Sean said, I guess the Skeletor cardback art on the Origins is supposed to be an homage to the Vengeance of Skeletor mini comic page 1, where he's standing on a volcanic rim. I'll have to look at it again. But yeah, it's I'm not a fan of that piece, and no, I'm not on Axel's stuff. He's a great artist.
It's fine, Val will let us know. Yeah. We'll hear from him. I always hear from him anyway. If we bring him up, if we bring him up, he always has a tendency to pop in and message somebody to let us know.
People who said my views are stupid or are narrow-minded or whatever. Like, we can't like everything. Yeah. I often feel like if Nathan were to sit there and say everything that I said about whatever is great, then, and same thing with Joe, it'd be ridiculous for Nathan and Joe to immediately agree with everything that I have to say. And if Axel did work on this stuff, I'm not ashamed to admit I don't like it. I've seen so much better.
How great would it be, though? How great would it be if Axel did all the line art and then Val inked and colored it? It's just like we just fucked them both over. That's great.
But I don't like it though, because obviously they're probably working under new. I don't know. It just when you see when I look at the Skeletor that he did for Super 7, which is right here on my wall, and if people don't know what I'm talking about, we're happy to get it for you right now and show you what it's like. It's so much more. Well, hell, damn, I'll do it right now.
While Tyler's doing that, and speaking of Origins, we got a comment from Blue Haired Lawyer last week that says here, how well do you guys think Origins will do? Do you think it'll last 2 years, 5 years? I don't know.
I'll give you my honest opinion, just from what I've seen in the groups, because how people are buying them so vastly. If they have those kind of fans that are hungry to keep buying, I could see it going past 5 years. I honestly can, but it's just I don't know what Mattel's going to do. It's like you said, is Mattel just doing this, feeding a little bit of Origins stuff for his fans, but then when the new cartoon comes out, they say, fuck that line, let's do another line? I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, if you think just for collector's sake, I could see it going on and on, but if Mattel had a different plan, they might just be feeding something and say, okay, here's another new line that might really piss people off because they're like, hey, I started collecting this. I don't want to collect yet another line. I don't know. But I can see going past 5 years.
Joe, what you just said before that, I think you're on the right track. Because lately it seems like Mattel hasn't kept stuff out there on the market for too long. I put me down for 2 years. I don't. I think it would be the thing if the new cartoon does well, then they'll just shift over and start producing figures based off of that. But time will tell.
Yeah, just don't know. And speaking of people shitting on stuff, like just to say what we were saying earlier, Tyler has said a lot of crazy stuff about my customs where he's like, good God on this. And like, why would somebody want this? So, hey, he does that to me. It doesn't piss me off. So it happens. We can't like every single thing that we or our buddies
And Sean says here, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Got to stop getting butthurt and take it personal when someone has an opposing opinion. Yeah, especially when it comes to pop culture stuff. Come on, like... In the grand scheme, of everything, it doesn't matter. But yeah, go ahead, Tyler. Show us that art.
Yeah.
Let's see the good.
Well, look. This is what Axel did of Skeletor. Look how many, and obviously that's a play off.
Push it a little over to
there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's fucking scary. See, that's all.
This is what I'm used to. Okay, and I refuse to settle for anything less than that. So if Mattel is Axel, do it this way. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. You get that money. Do your thing.
Yeah, which I know he's just happy to be working on He-Man. Yeah, he doesn't care. But
I mean, it would be all right because Tyler said before that he would do it for free. So Tyler, you're put in that position. They're like, all right, well, you have to do it this way. Then I mean, you're probably going to do it that way, right? I imagine you wouldn't want to just throw it all away and just quit and give up because you're actually finally a part of it, no matter how much.
I mean, look, if I was like in a an ungodly scenario where they actually decide, okay, we'll put your money where your mouth is, Tyler. Give us one good mini comic. They like it. Okay, all right. We'll give you 3, but one of them has to be about this or whatever. Then I mean, even if it was like you got to write Keldor into the story or something like that, or King Grayskull's got to be used. All right, I'll give you the ultimate. All right. Yes, I would begrudgingly, but yes, willingly write King Grayskull into a mini comic. Do I have to like it? No, but I will. Just much like if I ask Axel or Kevin to draw a character they may not be that fond of, but I expect them to put the best ass-kicking effort into making this one particular character look the way that I would want them to see, because, I mean, I am paying them to do so, but I also tell them I want you to have creative freedom and put your spin on this character that has not been drawn this much, and that's what I expect. So if I was to work with Mattel on the mini comics or whatever the case, I mean, as long as they're allowing me at times to do what I want to do, in the sense that, do you want me to put my ideas into these characters? If not, then you've hired the wrong guy. If you want me, you like what I'm doing, but then you're like, okay, we know you don't like King Grayskull, or we know you don't like Tila being a bitch. Can you write a good Tila being a bitch story? I'll write the best Tila being a bitch story that I can muster up. But I'd like to think that if you hire someone for a specific reason, you want them to use them for their specific talents, not just, well, you're here, and I guess we'll just continue to use you, and you want that money.
I think that's probably the biggest difference in today's market as opposed to 1982. When these guys are working on Filmation or they're working with Mattel to come up with these ideas, like, they had that creative freedom. Now it's like they have these talented people, but they're just sort of like boxed in to you have to do it this way, and that's just the way it is.
You are not allowed to essentially have any disagreement. You can't be public about your thoughts or anything like that. Everything has got to be kind of made to feel like what you do or what you're asked to do is, the goal. It's nothing but pure gold. And I hate that. Like, obviously you don't want to knock the company you work for. That makes sense. But to kind of like, are you allowed internally? Like, if Joe and Nathan are the Mattel reps and they come to me and say, we really want you to write a story about, give me a shitty Filmation character. Anything. I don't care. Star Child. Like, oh god. Like, I'm like, first off, I'd say, are you serious? Like, okay.
Oh, hey, did I confirm that Emiliano said that was Star Child when in his homecoming?
Did, which his portrayal of Star Child was definitely better.
Yeah.
But
I wish there could be more artistic freedom, though.
What's that?
I wish, you're right. I wish that they could have more artistic freedom, but like you said, sometimes when you work for these companies, it's they're paying you. They're going to want.
And I think it's the same at like Marvel and DC too. At least how it's always been. But I feel like people get popular because you give them some creative freedom to work with the skills that God gave them. Like, and then they get popular because people like what they do with these characters. If you restrain them, then that's kind of what leaves a lot of artists kind of going under the radar, because they're just following the guidelines, where someone comes along and shocks it up a little bit, shakes things up, draws Spider-Man a little bit more, agile or gangly, or draws Venom more smoothly, or draws Batman with a cape that's like it's a creature that's alive or something like that. If you're just following the same damn guideline all the time, then your art looks good, but it bleeds in with what everyone has done before and after you for a while, until someone comes along and shakes it up. And that's what was so important.
I was going to say, that's got to be kind of disheartening in a way to a lot of the artists these days that like actually love it and want to be a part of it, and then you sort of get chewed up in the system and spit out in some cases. Like.
Yeah, I mean, when you see a lot of the, I don't want to take away people's question time, but when you see a lot of merchandise of superheroes and Star Wars characters, you see a lot of generic artwork placed on children's stuff or adult apparel, and you're like, God, I've seen so much better, and they're going with the most generic, bland, uninteresting look of this particular character from Star Wars. So this is the most flatline looking Spider-Man and Captain America I've ever seen on this T-shirt. You know, like, why would anyone buy that? Oh yeah, the person who claims to like this character. So you what was your favorite, Red Skull battle? Huh? That's essentially what it's made for. It's by the people who just like to be posers. God, I've lost.
No, pop culture is just a weird thing. We went from it being sort of just that typical you're a nerd, and now it's the cool thing, and it's everything is just
it's kind of hurting a lot for me too. Like, where with the things that we have kind of liked in secret and talked about behind closed doors for fear of like people like, oh, you guys are a bunch of damn nerds. Now it's like, it's so cool, to have a superhero logo on your shirt, man.
Yeah, it honestly, in a way, it kind of sucks now.
It does. That's why Star Wars is so atrociously bad right now. It's like Star Wars is lame now because it's all over the place and not in a good way.
I mean, Mandalorian's good at least.
Oh,
but now, the thing is that you always have it with these things always lurking in the back of your mind. It's like, all right, Mandalorian did good. They're gonna do season 2. What if that sucks? Like, where does it end? Like,
and it may
because it's happened with everything. It's the same thing like Big Bang Theory. Like those first couple seasons pretty good, but once these guys start dating girls and getting married and having kids, it's sort of it's not what it was. And I know that's like you have to like grow up and start families and all this whatever. But like me watching that, I would rather watch them have a intelligent, well-written conversation about Superman and the physics of Lois Lane falling down and him like catching her and what would happen to her than Amy Farrah Fowler coming in just being like, oh, Sheldon, why can't we be in love? It's like, I don't want that.
Yeah, why don't you fuck me, Sheldon?
Once my parents started watching it every week, I'm like, all right, I'm out. Like, this isn't for me anymore. It's not. and then that's okay. And that's the same thing with any of this stuff. If it jumps the shark to me and I bounce, that's fine. If other people still love it, great, good for them. But I just, whatever. It is what it is. Like what you like. Like what you like. Anyway.
And that's okay.
All right, we'll hit a couple more questions in the chat room. I know I'm going to probably lose track of a lot of them. Spider Rat was asking, how long do you think it'll take to get Sorceress in the Origins line? I could see if that, not in the first year of release. She could probably pop up in a second year. I don't think they'll wait too long to get her out, honestly. So, especially when they're getting...
They'd probably be chomping at the bit to find some bullshit reason to throw in a bunch of Skeletor and He-Man color variants as opposed to actual variants. So, she'll probably be shoehorned because we got to find the same way to... Oh, look, here's Wonder Brain He-Man. Oh, look, here's He-Man with a slightly different color scheme based on this bullshit mini-comic. That we threw in here from
Mattel, man. It's Mattel. That's been their bread and butter.
They love their variants, man. I mean, that is the bread and butter. Is what keeps Mattel. It keeps the cash rolling in. It's just variant control. Yeah. I mean, just makes it up as hard just thinking about it.
I mean, you're right. There's been lots, and especially, God forbid, with the 2000X line, too many damn variants. So I pray it don't happen.
Mattel should just rename their company to Peg Warmers.
Yeah.
Well, Sean has a question, and he's not meaning within the context of Masters of the Universe. Are there any characters created within the last 20 years that you think would fit in if they existed in the 80s? The only one that comes into my mind, just because I'm always into horror, is Sam from Trick or Treat. I felt like the movie Trick or Treat felt like it felt like it was an 80s thing.
What's the question? I'm completely lost.
Are there any characters created within the last 20 years? So that means from 2000 to 2020.
New characters, new IPs,
new characters, new shows, anything that you think could fit in if they existed in the 80s, which that's pretty damn hard because a lot of things that have been made recently, they have a funky feel. But when you see some things, you do get an 80s feel. And I got an 80s feel from that movie Trick or Treat and with Sam. But God, I don't know. I don't know what the hell else. That's kind of hard to think of. What about you, Tyler? Anything pop into your head?
No.
Action movies, isn't it weird? Isn't that terrible that we can't really think of much? Like, God, action movies, horror movies, what the fuck feels like it could have just gelled in?
Anything now is,
or rehash of the 80s, or bring back and reboot the 80s. They're all trying to capture it.
No, there's just, other than John Wick, which, the third one kind of left me a little it was good up until the very end. Other than that, there's just not a whole lot of modern stuff, that I feel like would have been good in the 80s, because if it was, it would have been created back in the 80s.
Right.
So I just don't.
I'm just trying to really think. I think Joe was kind of on the right track with Sam from Trick or Treat. Like that could have worked then. But I mean, even then, you think about that's an anthology movie, like taking its love from like the anthology horror films from the 80s. So
sure, like Creepshow and shit like that and stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough one.
It's a good question, but yeah, all right. Papa Hud said, "Oh, hey Joe, have you ever got around and fixed that Origin He-Man head and hair?" I have not yet, Papa Huds. I'll try to do one, but Skeletor definitely had to have his change, but I have not did anything with He-Man. Let me see. I know I'm going to probably miss a lot.
Well,
because,
there's one from Sean.
I might pass to you, Nate.
Is there any character, vehicle, or playset that you could bring into the Origins line that you think that they probably wouldn't include in there, especially if it ends up having a shorter shelf life than anticipated?
Is he asking what are ones we'd like to see or we don't think would? What was that question again? I'm sorry.
It's kind of like, well, let me go back to it.
And people are all about the Origins.
Well, I mean, it's the newest thing. What do you expect? That's like the new toy and thing from the property.
I can see what he said.
But it's the same figures we got on the shelf here. Let's just.
I just got his question.
But Tyler, you can bend their arms at the elbow now.
Oh yeah, and I can have a He-Man with a squinty face and.
Okay, maybe. I don't know if he might mean for you, Tyler, because they already know I'm going to be buying this shit. But Sean did say, is there any character, vehicle, or playset that could bring you into
I read it wrong. That was me. Yeah, is there anything that could bring you in to fully just be like, all right, I'm way more into it now than initial? It would probably...
And that could be anything from the cartoon, the comics, things we didn't get, things that we had before, or anything.
Honestly, I don't... It's hard for me to buy into that fantasy when I feel like Mattel, they don't think like that. They don't think about throwing...
But if they did, hypothetically, if they did, would there be something that you think like, okay, damn it, all right, this is pretty fucking cool in the Origins line?
Well, I mean, if they were to throw in a Lizard Man, or an Azrog, I don't know.
I would have loved a Lizard Man in vintage form. Yeah, that would have.
Well, I would too, but I just don't know. Well, now I got to get the squinty face He-Man and the shitty mini comic that comes with it. I just I'm just kind of wishing Mattel had done a brand new He-Man line with mini comics, but just not what they're doing right now. It just seems, as I've said before, and I'm not going to repeat it again, but it's just a very uninspired effort on their part. It's just it's not different enough. So no, I'm not excited about it. And I'm like what Danielle said when she was on here. She's just not interested in buying the same figures over again. It's just, 2000X was special because it was new sculpts of your favorite characters that resembled the original, but different. And these are not different enough to make me fork out $15 a piece for these things when I literally have no room in my cave of power here to put them anywhere in here. I don't care how many I get or whatever. I mean, I've said before, I'll buy them when they come out. But I honestly, I kind of feel like when I ran into Nathan at Walmart not too long ago and went and looked at the Ghostbusters on the rack, and I bought two for my nephew. But honestly, when I seen it, I just didn't feel the need to pull the trigger. Well, even though it's
especially with those Kenner Ghostbusters, when I look at it, it's like, all right, to have them with their original card and everything, sure, but good God. But I already have those figures. Those are the exact same molds and everything that I had when I was a kid. I still have them. I have no reason to buy them again. So the only selling point with these Origins figures is, okay, I can actually own a Scareglow now. And yes, they have articulation, so you can pose them a little bit better on the shelf, but that's about it, really.
You know what's funny, Tyler and Nathan, is I'm looking back at when I first started doing customs, and it's just strange how the brain can work, and the things that I wanted, I made characters that I wanted as a kid in vintage form, and what I'm looking at now on my screen are the vintage versions. I made a Malactha. He was one of the first characters I made. Lizard Man, I did Sky High, I did Shikoti, Evil Seed, and I did Colonel Blast. It's weird. Those are some of the first characters I made in vintage form to be carded up. And see, that's the kind of stuff, I guess, just like, when Tyler's saying, if we're to see something, if I see those guys, hell yeah, that's going to be cool. It's like, oh my God, I finally got a Malactha. And in vintage form, I got a Lizard Man. Just to see different characters would be great. I know they're going to shoehorn and, of course, keep giving us the same damn things we had before. But God, please, if this stuff happens, then I think a lot of people that maybe weren't as excited, it might get them a little more aboard.
But even so, like I can't even buy the fantasy of that, because we all know how Mattel thinks. If they can't reproduce the same mold a multitude of times within the same year, it's irrelevant to them. And that's how not just Mattel, but a lot of companies are like that. If they can't, buy into variants as a big part of their product line, they just feel like it's going to be a failure. Because, like,
hey, guy, this ain't Tyler being, just to let you know, it's not him being pessimistic, because what he's saying and how he's talking right now, it's kind of the mentality that we both have on the movie. That's why Tyler and I, anytime we heard somebody bring up the new Masters of the Universe movie, did you hear it's coming? We can't get excited, because we, for almost 18 years, have been, look what's going to happen. Not going to happen. They keep promising, oh, no, and it doesn't happen. So, when you're getting beaten down so much, just the thought of, okay, look at everything that we keep getting in figure form. And the characters, a lot of them that I mentioned that we've never seen. Some we've seen in classics form, but yeah, pretty much we're probably going to get the same damn stuff we grew up with, and it'll take a long time to get anything new, if it even happens.
And you have the whole other factor of scalpers going in and swiping them off the shelf before anyone has a chance to get them. You have a pandemic that's still running rampant in the country, so I'm not going to go to Walmart like every single day in hopes that I can find these. No, The toy business, and I'll get on a rant about the NECA stuff. I hate what they've done. They're not sending enough stock to Walmart when they post it and have a link. Like, no one can get to it. Like, it's already gone in like 2 seconds because bots or whatever have already swiped them all. They're on eBay all the time. You go to the store, someone's already beaten you to it, or employees just keep them for themselves so they can go and sell it on eBay later. Like, it just sucks collecting toys these days. Like, I don't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah,
they got to do a little more. Fun. Yeah, and Mattel, you're right. I think, just like for Tyler, didn't mean to cut you off, but they got to do a little more to get people like Tyler and those who are on the fence. Because for me, yes, I'm excited. I'm going to get the Origin stuff. But if you're not delivering a lot of new things that can really catch people's eyes, people like Tyler, people that really love like classics, they're going to be like, you know what? I got this already. What the hell do I want to do?
I've got articulate figures already. And look, and it's probably because I've been with this line as a fan for so long. I've seen a lot of great things. I've seen a lot of shitty things. I've been part of the dark times when there was nothing going on, when I thought He-Man would never even come to DVD, and buying a bootleg set off the internet was the end of the line. Like, I've got every episode. I've almost got all the vintage toys. This is about as far as it's going to go. I've seen a lot. I've read a lot. I've rewatched a lot, and then I've rewatched again. I've hunted down. I've spent so much money on Masters of the Universe. I've never stopped, and I've seen a lot of exciting things. It takes a lot to impress me, people. That's my honest to God break kayfabe on this podcast for people who think I'm an angry person. It just takes a lot to impress me, people. That's what it comes down to. Joe is all-encompassing, and that's his genuine personality.
But you also have to think, too, like, with this line, it's appealing to Joe also because it's articulated molds that he can do customs for people. So yeah. That's a selling point for Joe. Whether he thinks that they all look great or thinks they all look shitty, like, there's still that common fact that, like, he can take these and he can make money off of them because people want customs of stuff. If you guys have kids and you want to, like, do this, like, Tyler will probably go and buy some of these and give them to his nephew, right?
Oh, I most definitely
there we go.
Yeah.
So there is that stuff, but Tyler's just breaking it down from the base thing of, like, he's already got vintage, he's already got classics. It's going to be the same shit. There's going to be, like, other variants probably, I imagine, that don't make any sense. Well, let's do the samurai thing again. That'll work. Whatever.
It's just it ain't me trying to be mean for the sake of the podcast, or I get off on my YouTube personality as being the snarky asshole. No, I'm being as sincere as I possibly can. Like, I want nothing more than to be, so pumped. I've got a raging boner for this new line that's coming out, and I can't wait. I'm like a crack at it, walking up and down every toll aisle I can come to, hoping this line has finally shown up, or I'm buying it so far in advance that I will give in to the Nazis of the eBay community, which I call scalpers, and succumb to their godly prices.
And I did it. I'll go ahead and admit this.
Oh, Nathan did it after saying, "I'll never do it." I'm not doing it.
I wasn't happy about it, but I did get that Raph and Casey 2-pack from the Turtle movie that NECA just put out, because I'm like, I'm never gonna find it at Walmart. I'm pretty confident in that. So
my Walmart has nothing. I can't find anything at Walmart.
Ours doesn't either. They just got shit that nobody obviously is. They're not interested in Godzilla. They're not interested. If they hadn't got their Jason from Friday 13th Part 3 by now, well, they're never going to get it. Which is what seems to be clogging up the shelves at the two Walmart. I don't know about Dublin. They probably ain't got jack shit either.
They don't even carry anything. So it's like I have two places, and like it's never going to work. Now, if I find one, great, I'll get it. I'm not going to resell it. I'll give it to Tyler or something.
I'll gladly pay him for it too. But, it's just
so
it's
I
just
gave
not.
in
It's just
because I have the other ones, and I'm like, I do need this. Like, this just feels completely incomplete now without it.
Did you pay a lot more, or was
I
it
did.
hopefully just a little increase?
Oh yeah, you paid
the set at retail is $50. If you go into Walmart and you find it, it's $50, which is still steep.
Tell me you didn't do triple. Please tell me it wasn't triple.
$120, sir.
Oh.
$120.
Wow.
I'm like, I wanted to throw up, but it had to. It needed to be done. It needed to be done. It had to.
It's terrible.
And if there's any scalpers who listen to this, or they don't want to refer to themselves as
big
scalpers,
middle finger
I don't give
to
a
you,
shit,
sir.
Go to hell.
Yeah.
I can't stand what they do. And Nathan showed me. We actually have a local scalper who's got a YouTube channel in our area who's loves to brag.
I don't think he's not a scalper. He's a collector. I don't think he turns everything on eBay. But
so why the hell did he buy the entire rack of G.I. Joe Classified with the display if he's already got them? Like, what the hell do you need?
You look, that display was small. It's like an end cap thing. So you look, that's probably one case. So that's like 2 figures a piece. Realistically, keep one in the box, take one out. Right. So
why are you defending this
I'm
guy?
not. I'm just that was probably his mentality going into it. I can open these up, put them on my shelf, but now I have this display, and I can have each one of them in the box in the display. So he's not a scalper, but it still sucks, because that's like, well, there's a set of figures someone else didn't get, and whatever, you got the money, all the power to you, I guess. But
before we wrap it up, let's see your cool shirt, Tyler. Let's see Tyler's cool shirt. Let's see your cool shirt, Tyler, before we wrap it up.
Oh yeah, it's the 4th version of Snake Eyes, my personal favorite.
Was that something you ordered, or just at the store?
Yeah, from TeePublic. It's an homage from a G.I. Joe 235, I think. Nathan's got the issue. I actually bought it recently. But it's absolutely beautiful artwork on the inside. But it's based on Mike Bach, who's a member in the He-Man community. He posted a bunch of really cool He-Man, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, and Marvel and DC images on TeePublic, and I found this on there too. I'm like, oh my god, that's my favorite version of Snake Eyes.
Was that his design, or he was just sharing cool shit?
I think he just kind of posted. It's pretty much the exact same image. I'm sure it's modified a little bit, but he's got some.
Oh, okay.
If you go look up, I had to look up Gruen the Destroyer from Thundercats. And I found his design of Grunt on there, and I went to his actual page on TeePublic, and he's got this, Scarlet, there's a Snake Eyes, and a Storm Shadow comic book cover from the Marvel series on there as well, with some He-Man. So he's got, that He-Man puzzle of He-Man fighting that kind of octopus beast with Merman in the back. He's got He-Man fighting the octopus as a design in there too, which I've been meaning to get.
Okay.
So there's some good stuff on there, but yeah, that's where I got
speaking
it.
of TeePublic, make sure you click the link down below and visit Joe's store so you can buy some of his t-shirts. Which Joe, the two that I bought from you actually came in the mail this week, finally. So,
God, man, it was a long time.
Be aware if you guys do order on there, but since there's the whole, this little thing, you may have heard of it, this pandemic that's going around. I don't know.
Delaying
little
like
underground
crazy.
thing.
What you got, Nathan?
I have.
Well, let's see yours, Nathan.
I have a sleepaway camp. Basically, the poster for sleepaway camp on this red T-shirt. Sleepaway camp's a fun.
Okay,
fun
here's
movie.
my uninspiring blank shirt. How about that? There. So there's my shirt.
And where'd you get that?
Yeah, where'd you get that blank shirt?
I got that. I got this at it's a store. It's called Savers, and they had like 3 for $10 on just T-shirts. So this was like $3.30. It's a good deal. So
how about that?
How about that? So that's it. So that's the end of the questions. I know we probably missed some. Apologize if we did, but this was a fun
some
fucking
from the episode that the last one we did too, or there was questions in there too we didn't get around to answering that I said I would answer, but I guess Joe had to rush me through it. So sorry, people, I didn't get to answer because Joe's got to take a shit or something.
No, if you could think of if you know what they were and Nathan could read them, go ahead. Because
you didn't try to wrap it up here. Now I got to backtrack because Joe's.
I actually forgot. I forgot about the.
Of course you did, because they weren't about you, right, Joe? Bad enough I'm struggling to get myself noticed in the He-Man community here. You got to come over and stomp all over my monkey tree?
I'm terrible. Nathan, go ahead. Hit Tyler with the questions from last week.
Wait. Like the comments on last week's video?
I don't know.
The last one, the one.
The mini. Well, a lot of them was just like congratulations, blah blah blah, like this. Questions for next week. In light of Tyler giving us a mini comment for Ninja and Clamp Champ, what would be your brief synopsis for another character from the Wave 7 series that never got one? There we go.
Most everyone was featured in a mini comic, but obviously Clamp Champ and Ninja were in one, but not prominently. I'd probably give King Randor his own mini comic and make him the prominent hero of that, and have him kind of live up to his title of being the King of Eternia. Have him get separated from He-Man on an adventure or something like that, and he gets cornered by some of the Wave 7 villains and maybe some of the others, and he's kind of got to battle his way through like a gauntlet of the evil warriors to get caught up or something where he's pretty much got to prove it on his own why he is the King of Eternia. That he is a great retired warrior.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah,
that would be something, because I love that look of King Randor in the last wave. I thought it was pretty badass. So I would that would be my go-to. I'd love to elaborate on that.
All right. No, and that'd be cool, because like I said, we got to at least see him doing some action in Search for Keldor. When he threw the weapon right through Faker, so you got to see him doing some battles. So it would be.
I want to see him actually do sword fights and use his staff, and just do some major ass kicking. That would be awesome to do.
That would be cool. I like that. All right. I guess before we wrap it up, Zentron, he hasn't done this in a long time, Tyler, and he's doing it for you.
Oh,
he's got a movie quote.
Thank you.
He's got a movie quote. The thing about being an addict is you can never tell what you're taking is 100% pure. You can never tell if what you're taking is 100% pure. The thing about being an addict is you can never tell if what you're taking is 100% pure. I have no clue on that, Zentron.
I don't do drugs. So.
All right, Nathan. I'm not saying Nathan you do drugs. I meant.
No, I just drink. But Zentron said the third sleepaway camp wasn't that great. No, I beg to differ. I think it's fun for what it is, and come on, you get Bruce Springsteen's sister as the killer, so why not?
Yeah, I only watched those once, and that was when Nathan
great.
Bought that
it's awesome.
Set.
That was a good time.
Well, it's only great if you just watch with Nathan at like 2:00 in the morning, where he hasn't slept hardly at all, and I'm like on a high of like no sleep either. Everything's funny then, but I can only watch it if Nathan's probably intoxicated now, because if he can't like make fun of this, Joe cocked his head like an inquisitive dog or puppy or something like that when he did that. What was that about? Were you like Wick at the Ewok?
Oh well, Zentron said I'm wearing the shirt, so I guess it's from Sleepaway Camp. I don't remember I don't remember quotes from Sleepaway Camp. I just remember the end. I remember that one dude like giving the middle finger really funny and walking away.
Yeah, me and Eddie used to laugh about that a lot. And shit, I remember, I ain't afraid to admit it, when we finally saw the ending of Sleepaway Camp, because we had no idea the ending was
that
like
that. Me out. That creeps me out.
I was afraid to go downstairs to get a drink of water. Like, I was like, holy shit, I'm going to see some naked dude dressed up like a woman.
That
like,
face
I ain't go down there, man.
made.
No way.
It scared the shit out of me because I mean, as a kid, and especially with VHS quality, I thought it was like a furry creature woman thing. I didn't know what was going on, but that you're right.
Spoilers if you haven't watched the movie from like
I'm
almost
sorry
40 years ago.
If you're watching Fans of Power and we spoil Sleepaway Camp for you, like that ain't our fault, man. So
good movie though. Good movie. You gotta watch it.
Yeah, it's funny as hell.
All right, and Zentron said it was Sleepaway Camp 3, so there's the quote. So. All right. Well,
now I did one up us because he posted the third Sleepaway Camp. I have to tip my hat to you, sir. You got me.
It's been a long. It's been a long
just didn't
time
like
since
2 and 3.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched 3.
Yeah, I didn't like the others.
I've seen that movie. I wouldn't be able unless I don't think I'd been able to get a quote from the first Sleepaway Camp. I haven't watched it that many times, but. Yeah.
The only one's the one that I can vaguely remember. The others, I don't. I didn't like the others, but yeah, when it came to quotes from part 1, I probably wouldn't know that as well.
Another shitty trilogy I want to recommend real quick: the Slumber Party Massacre movies. Go check those out. That's good. The second one's weird. The third one's awesome. The first one's great, but the second one's just
been a long time.
All right, go ahead, Joe. Yeah, we'll wrap it up. He's been trying to do it 15 times already.
No, I haven't, but yes, I have. All right, well, I want to thank everybody that was here in the chat room. Hope you enjoyed this episode. For anybody that's new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell so you can always be notified when we go live. And until next time, have a powerful day.
I can go to your mama's and start a small fire in her panties.
Oh, it's Gary Busey. Shit. Black Sheep?
No, wait.
Under Siege.
Damn.
Wait, Easy Cap?
Really?
Easy Cap? No.
Are you sure?
I don't know. Yeah, he says that to Steven Seagal.
What was it that because he was in Black Sheep too, right? He said something like kind of.
I said that's what I'm saying. It's Black Sheep where he said I can go to your mama and start a small fire in her panties.
That's what I said.
Oh, when he was in his little trailer, was that one part?
I said Black Sheep.
Well, I didn't hear you say it because Joe was talking about Under Siege.
Rewind the tape. I said Black Sheep when I was sitting there. Like,
he did.
Okay. Nathan got it right. It is Black Sheep. Yeah, Nathan got the point there. Yeah.
I probably cut you off with the delay.
Thanks,
but
Joe.
yeah, I didn't fucking know. All right, sorry about that. See you guys.
I wish that was Gary Busey's line to Casey Ryback and Under Siege though when they're mouthing off in the kitchen. Like that would be awesome. How is Steven Seagal going to fight that with the keto? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Just go back.
I'm sorry. You got to admit, if he would have said that to Casey Ryback, I'm sorry, Steven Seagal's like, got me, Busey. I got nothing, man. You know. And then he starts flapping hands around and running all weird. And
dude could not run at all.
No.
Anyway.